I'm so grateful that she took the time. Hi, how are you, Jennifer?
I'm great. How are you?
Awesome. So I just want to hand it over to you to just talk a little bit about what you experienced with the product and then how you see it coming to life in your business. So I'll hand it over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I will be honest that this was not what I expected going in when I started with the pilot. One of the goals that I had for myself many, many years ago was when I reached Key Coordinator that I was going to hire a trainer. That was going to be my reward for reaching Key, and I was going to start to work out 3 times a week. So I've literally been in the gym working out with the bros and all that stuff since the early 2000s, like 2002, 2003. And I've heard about creatine a lot. So in my mind, it was always about muscle building. It was for the athlete, it was for the gym goer. And it wasn't until I started with the pilot, or I got asked to be and invited to be on the pilot, that I started to do a little more research. And I listened to a couple of podcasts. One was done by Rhonda Patrick, and many of you may have heard of Rhonda Patrick before, and maybe not. You might agree with some of her stuff, you might not, but she has a fantastic podcast on creatine that really helped me understand a little bit more about some of the other benefits that I might receive. So I've learned since joining the pilot and being a part of it that this was really more about the cellular energy. And obviously, Aaron did a much better job explaining ATP than I ever could. But for me, I had that energy increase on a daily basis physically. I also had the mental energy, I had the stamina, and I had the focus. That word focus became the word that I loved and use a lot around creatine, or the creatine plus, I should say, not just creatine in general, but our product specifically. And it instantly expanded who the product is for in my mind. Because we initially, like I said, I was thinking that it was really for gym goers, it was for the athletes. So I even started when I heard rumblings that Shackley might have a creatine product. I started going through my database of customers, who's in the gym, who works out a lot. That was where I started. Well, that's completely changed now. So, what surprised me the most was all of the mental clarity that happened for me on a day in and day out basis and the focus. Now, I know Aaron mentioned it, but this was a common problem for me was entering a room and trying to remember why I was there. I don't know if you've ever done that before. You've got that wild look of, oh my gosh, why am I in here? What did I come in here for? The other thing that I struggled with sometimes was just grabbing a word. You know how sometimes you know there's a word, you know the word, you know it fits into a sentence, and I just couldn't grab it fast enough for the conversation. Well, all of that changed when we started to take the creatine plus. Now, we did do the loading. I saw that pop up in the chat box. They asked if the pilot participants did the loading phase, and we did. And so I really believe that that helped get some results faster. So I would encourage everybody to do the loading phase. I'm just the lay person, and I did the loading phase. So the 10 milligrams a day for a week, and then the 5 milligrams a day after that. So within a couple of days, now at first I thought it was a placebo, but it continued. So I then turned it not into a placebo in my mind. But within a couple of days, I felt sharper. I felt more clear. I had this usable energy during the day. And especially like Aaron said, in the afternoons, like in those sort of slump times, maybe 2:33 in the afternoon. And I had that extra energy. In the past, I would go out on a walk to get that extra energy. And I noticed that I didn't have to take the walk. I like taking the walks, but I didn't have to take the walk to get that extra energy. And I'm just going to keep saying that word focus, even though I know you'll probably get sick of hearing me say it. But that really was the word or the adjective that I would use consistently about how I felt during this trial. I just felt so much more focused. Now, we're all entrepreneurs here, but a lot of us have other things in our lives. Being a business owner, being a leader, I need to be sharp and focused daily. I know if you're a mom or a dad, you need to be sharp and focused daily. So we don't have time to be foggy. But it wasn't until my trainer actually made a comment about all of the PRs I was having, and that just means personal records in the gym, that I actually realized that my workouts and recovery were really changing. And so I went in thinking it was going to be all about the workouts and the athletic performance, but then it changed because I was having so much energy and focus that I forgot about the workouts until my trainer made a comment. Now I see him 3 times a week and he logs and tracks the amount of weight I use, how many reps, etc. And I was consistently having gains for all 4 weeks. And actually, I shouldn't say all 4 weeks. It was the end of the first week that it started, and then it went for the additional 3 weeks. And these were really dramatic gains for me. And so that was powerful. I wasn't needing as much recovery. I have a lot of recovery products at home here. And when I say products, I mean tools and things to use, not necessarily supplements. We do have our Recover, which I take every night. But I was having at home to do a lot more recovery than I needed to do after taking the creatine plus, which really shocked me. So just to think about some phrases that I used around the house, and I was telling my husband George, I kept saying, I feel more on. I actually have energy that I can use. And it was consistent throughout the day, which was also really important. Now, I want to just talk briefly about who I think would appreciate this product because you might be like me. Maybe you were thinking it was just all the athletes, but I really think anyone who's busy, any busy adult, any parent, any professional, any entrepreneur, and of course, athletes. But more and more people these days are really looking at longevity and how do they live longer, healthier. And so, if you're looking at living longer, healthier, you need your brain to work. We need our brain big time. And so, those would be people that would be really important to talk to about the Creatine Plus. And we're already in some of those conversations. So, if you're in conversations with people about protein, about sparkling protein, about the reset, all of those are launch pads to then talk about Creatine Plus because these people are already using things that are just the sort of the gateway into Creatine Plus. But I also want you to think about some language that some people might be using. They might be saying things like, I'm tired, but my day isn't slowing down. I wish I could remember why I walked into that room. Just remember me, remember what Dr. Aaron was saying, right? Because I'm sure that's happened to many people before. Or even they might say, I just don't have the energy or focus that I used to have. Maybe they can't capture the words and they're saying, oh, I just can't remember that word. Those would be all keys that somebody might be a good candidate for the Creatine Plus. So people are paying attention to how they feel. The Creatine Plus is just a natural next step. But in my opinion, Creatine Plus isn't another niche product. It's an everyday energy support product. I take mine daily now in my Life Shake. Super excited that we have that product to add to the Life Shake. So I want to talk a little bit about how I intend to use it, sort of my business strategy. Let me check my time. Okay, I've got a little bit of time left here. So positioning, I don't see Creatine Plus as a standalone sell unless you're talking to an athlete. But even then, I'd encourage us to all think bigger picture and support the athlete's entire health journey, not just the creatine side. I think of it as a layer on top of the protein. And so my current strategy would be an add-on to anybody who's already purchasing any type of our product, protein products. The reset follow-up, or if you notice people in your organization that are using any of the other sports products, maybe Build or Recover, of course, those would be people that you talk to. But think about all of the people that have been talking to you about longevity, even people taking Vivix. A lot of those people are looking to age healthier longer or to age longer, healthier. I get that phrase messed up all the time. Sorry. So you might even say to somebody, if you liked how protein made you feel, this supports energy and focus on top of that. And of course, who doesn't want energy and focus? You might even tell somebody, I see that you're using the Build and Recover consistently. Have you ever thought about adding creatine to that? Now, I always think about using curiosity marketing, and especially when we're building a business online. And I just want to remind everybody of two reasons why I recommend that we use curiosity marketing, because as you're thinking about this and as you're thinking about how you're going to launch this over the next couple of weeks, you really want to think about creating a lot of curiosity so that your prospects reach out to you. So, what are the two main reasons that I use curiosity marketing? The first is if I tell people that it's a Shaklee product, they're going to go online and search Shaklee. They might end up purchasing from another ambassador other than me. The second reason is to keep people compliant. If we are creating curiosity, we're not mentioning science, we're not mentioning details, we're not mentioning the product name, and we will stay compliant. And so it eliminates the worry over making any type of improper claims. So I would just encourage you to use curiosity marketing and to teach your teams to do the same. And you don't need to explain everything. You've probably heard this before, but facts tell and stories sell. Share your personal experience in terms of some benefits that you've had. Maybe an example could be maybe you make a reel where you walk into a room and say, finally, I can remember why I came into this room. Want the deets? DM me or drop a heart or whatever your signature phrase is. Something that gets them reaching out to you. You could then use a tool like ManyChat that would automate your responses if you feel like you're going to get too many responses. And if you don't have automation in place already, don't worry about that. You don't have to have automation, but you can use automation to help you respond to the number of prospects that come back and ask questions. You want to make it super simple for people to respond to messages. So instead of having them do a big long phrase, just DM me, and usually it's an emoji or a thumbs up or something that says they're indicating to you that they're interested in learning more. And that's the end of my timer. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Okay, let me wrap up here. So in my humble opinion, this isn't just another product launch. It's something that people have been looking for and they've wanted it from Shaklee. They trust our brand, they trust the quality and the research. And if I were to give one sentence as a takeaway, Kathy, I'm going to ask you to put it up on the screen here for us. I gave a sentence on Saturday and everybody was reaching out and asking me for it. So here it is. Creatine Plus supports the energy your brain and body need to perform consistently, not just occasionally, and the focus is amazing. I love this product. I'm so excited to get it into so many people's hands, and I hope that what I shared here today helps everybody feel confident in what we have to offer.
Shackley makes no promises or guarantees regarding earning additional income or any other earnings opportunity. The success or failure of each Shackley ambassador, like any other business opportunity, depends on your own skills and personal effort. Shackley ambassadors do not earn compensation for the recruitment or sponsorship of other Shackley ambassadors. The Shackley compensation plan is new and has limited earnings history. The financial results of all Shackley ambassadors for the preceding year under the existing compensation plans are contained in the Shackley average earnings chart that can be found at us.shackley.com/earnings, which does not include ambassador costs.